Oh my god! Oh! So since the last video, I've travelled from New Zealand and now I'm in Kenya in Africa. It's my first time in Africa. It's a crazy place. We've been riding bikes, filming for this Red Bull series, which has been totally insane. Honestly, it's been amazing. I've done so many new things that unfortunately I can't talk about, but I can certainly show you very soon. This whole trip is basically like going on safari with your mountain bike. So that's kind of the point in today's video. I want to talk you through the bike that I've been riding loads over the last few days, the last few weeks, the Marin Mount Vision, which is over there. Now, I did a bike build video on this bike when I built it, but I didn't have all of the proper parts on it, and I hadn't actually ridden the bike that much, whereas now I've done a lot of riding on this bike, so I can really talk to you about it. But I just want to do an overall bike check because I rarely do bike check videos on non-dirt jump bikes. So on these bikes, Enduro bikes, there's a lot more to talk about because you've got more parts, more stuff going on, more things to change. So it's pretty cool to talk about it. And actually I've got new parts that I've never run on any of my bikes, which I'll talk to you about today because they're really cool. So the Marin Mount Vision, that's the frame. I've got a size medium. It's a 650B Enduro trail frame, 150mm of travel, full carbon fibre, internal cable routing. It's got this crazy nailed platform, the suspension platform. So it's made by Nailed, that's the company there, which makes this sick rear fender, which comes as standard. I really like the look of that. And that whole section there, like I said in the last video, slides. It's super poppy, and for me it's the jumping and the feeling of like popping over stuff, which I love about this bike so much. So more about the parts. The rear shock is a Fox Float X2 rear shock. That provides the 150mm of travel. It's black, which suits kind of the top end of the frame. Then you've got this carbon fibre linkage here, which looks rad against the shock. So that's the frame, and then components wise, I've got gusset S2 components, bars, stem, seat, pedals. So my bars are a 35mm clamp and the stem. This is something that Gusset do on their whole S2 range. It's a wider bar than most average 31.8mm bars, I think that's right. So they're wider, stiffer, and I think it looks really cool. Look, you can kind of see that might look wider than your bike at home, but I think it's rad. I'm so used to looking down over that cockpit now. That's the S2 stem, 40mm long. I run my bars about 750mm wide. Now that's really narrow for an enduro bike. A lot of people will run them a lot wider, but because my dirt jump bars are like 730, which is really narrow, it doesn't make sense for me to run super wide, yard long beasts on this. That's good. And then the grips, I've got ODI Sensors grips, which are lock on. They look rad and they feel so nice. It's got diagonal flanges there, vertical ones. They're a really good feeling grip and they're super wide. Brakes. I ride for TRP brakes and make really powerful brakes, and these are the G-Spec slate brake, which are slightly less powerful actually than the Quadium Aranguin World Cup winning brake I run on my San Quentin. But for this trip I've put a 180mm rotor on the back and a 203mm rotor on the front, which is as big as it goes in mountain biking brakes, and that basically means it's insanely powerful. A bigger rotor does give you more power, they don't get as hot so easily. So riding these huge mountains that I've been doing here in Kenya, New Zealand, powerful brakes does help, and those bigger rotors have made a massive difference, and those brakes feel really good. I think I prefer them to the Quadium ones. They're just like a bit more like I've got my dirt jump bike, so it keeps it consistent across all the bikes. Next, drivetrain. So that's an Eagle shifter and Eagle cassette, GX Eagle or XO mech. I'm actually not too sure because this is all the stuff that came on the bike. I need to check it, but basically it's all SRAM, and I am actually awaiting a different drivetrain from a drivetrain sponsor, which you'll see very soon. It's also got the dropper post that it came with. Now moving into like the bottom of the bike, this is where all my stuff kind of gets pretty particular and custom and stuff. So wheels, I ride for Halo wheels and I have done for 11 years now, and these are the new Enduro wheels, the Vortex wheel set. So up front and rear Vortex rims, which are a really strong asymmetrical rim, which makes it extra strong. I've explained that in another video, and they're pretty affordable too. But on the rear I've got the Super Drive hub, and I get a lot of messages from people asking what hub I run, what hub makes this insane sound. And this is it, the Super Drive hub, which sounds amazing. Like definitely the best sounding hub in the business. When you're going full chat down a track or through dirt jumps, it sounds the business. So that's the Super Drive rear hub from Halo. Obviously all black, and then I've got matching blue decals to go with the frame, which is pretty cool. Halo hooked me up with that. It all kind of goes Silverline logo, Marin logo, Vortex, Halo. It's all really good. And then moving on to this region of the bike. Actually no, I'll save that, 2 secs. Max's tyres, this is kind of interesting because this is a DHF tyre on the rear and a DHF tyre on the front, the Minion DHF. The F stands for front, so you should run a DHF up front and a DHR at the rear. But I've been running a pair of DHFs, and that's actually a recommendation from my brother who races downhill. He's actually doing World Cups this year, and he said a pair of DHFs on an enduro bike feel mega, and I trusted him on this trip, also with double down sidewall protection, so I'm way less likely to get punctures riding insanely long mountain ridges and stuff, and it's worked so far. So the DHF as a pair, 2.5 inch wide, which also couples up with the fact I've got really wide rims, sounds really confusing, but they've been a really rad tyre. Tyre choice makes a massive difference with bike riding. Pressures, and even just the ones you go for, really kind of like set the bike apart. That's the only thing that's in contact with the ground. So DHFs, I'm super chuffed with them. Right, this little puppy here. I know a lot of you have probably been looking at this, and I've had a lot of messages about this. So that's an absolute black oval chainring, which when you spin looks absolutely crazy. So oval chainrings are constantly changing size as you pedal because you can't apply pressure to the pedals through the whole 360-degree pedal stroke. You kind of get it from like 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock. So the fact that it changes size means that the back wheel, which is actually in contact with the ground, spins in a more linear fashion rather than like ruh, ruh, ruh. It's just going more linear. So actually, honestly, you get more grip, better climbing ability. If you're going to put a last minute pedal in before a jump, you get more out of it. That's my take on oval chainrings. Now these cranks, I am so overly stoked about these cranks. They are spectacular. These cranks are 100% titanium. The axle, both crank arms, and they look the business. They are so cool. And they weigh about 400 grams, which makes them pretty much on the lightest level of cranks you can put on these bikes. Downhill bikes, enduro bikes. They're 170 mil long, and they're made by Cane Creek. They're called the E-Wings cranks. So they might not be way lighter than carbon cranks, but they're definitely stronger. Titanium is an insane material. They can come in at 400 grams and be a lot stronger than carbon fiber, which for me is good news because you do see like horror stories of carbon fiber stuff shattering, and that's not going to happen with titanium. And there's actually a 10-year warranty. They're that confident about how strong they are. So I'm kind of just testing these out for the first time, and I'll be totally honest with you, they don't feel that different to other cranks. They're cranks, right? They're light, which definitely feels different, but they don't have better properties, in my opinion, that I feel. However, they look the business. They look so trick. They're the most trick cranks I've ever had on my bike. And when I got into dirt jump riding years ago, like over 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I had steel 3-piece cranks on all my bikes, which looked a lot like that. So it's really cool for me to put on cranks that kind of look similar but are so light, completely titanium. And I've actually had a lot of messages from people who have seen that on Instagram about what cranks are those. So they're the Cane Creek E-Wings cranks, and they cost £1,000. And you can get a power meter version that tells you how many watts you're putting through your cranks, which are even more expensive. And I think that's insane, £1,000 cranks. But for the material, the fact they're lightweight, the stiffness, it could be worth it. Could be worth it, maybe not, I don't know. It's a lot of money, but for me they make the entire bike look better. The fade from black down to silver with the titanium cranks, the gold chainring, everything together. It's all direct mount. Look, there's no big spider that holds that chainring on. It's just direct mount right behind there. They look the business. Are they worth £1,000? I'm going to leave that up to you to decide, but they look the business. I think some things in life that are really trick and really bling are worth spending a bit more money on, that's for sure. Whether it's worth spending a load of money on your cranks, I'm not sure, again, but overall I'm so stoked on this bike. I've got the pink muck-off tubeless valves, which obviously don't have to be pink. It makes no sense with my colour scheme, but they certainly stand out. Right, the fork is a Fox 36 Performance Elite, which is black. I kind of thought about putting an orange fork on this bike because it's factory and because I have the opportunity to. But actually black all up front with the tyres, the rims, the bars, the stem, the frame. It all works really well. I'm leaving these black for sure. So that's been my enduro bike, the Marin Mount Vision, custom build. It's an insane bike. I'm riding it so much at the minute filming, and I can't wait for you guys to see this series we've been working on. It's the most mind-blowing thing I've ever done in my life. I can't wait to share it with you. But for now, that's been a bike check. We're gonna have more riding videos soon. Obviously, I'm kind of one of these YouTubers that can't put all of my eggs in the basket because I've got other stuff going on, stuff like this. So I don't regret that, it's just a compromise, right? Sometimes I can't always put up riding videos. But thanks for all your support. I really hope you like this bike. Hit me up in the comments with some suggestions, because I can always change parts around. And I'll see you in a video really soon. Peace out from Kenya, legends.